Hello, Curtis here. Welcome to the webinar. We are opening the gates a little bit early just so everyone can shuffle in, get their email invites, etc. So we'll be starting in about 3 minutes. So hang tight and I will be talking to you soon. All right, we are at the 1 minute warning. One more minute until we kick things off. So I'll be right with you guys. One more minute. All right. Hello, howdy, and hi. A big greeting all the way from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where it was, in fact, 33 degrees Celsius today, which is pretty shocking for us cold-blooded folks, but we are managing to get by. I want to thank you all for joining me so much today. I know you guys are in the future. It's tomorrow for you guys, but we do appreciate every single second of your time. My name is Curtis Dohaniak, and I'm a product expert with Replicon. And today, I will be your guide and host on our feature webinar presentation, Drive Work from Home Results with Cloud and Mobile Project Time Tracking. So here is a quick look at the agenda before we roll on too quickly. First, we'll take a look at an overview of the Replicon platform and the problems it solves, and the problems that people run into when it comes to project time tracking and costing without our platform. Then we'll look at how the Replicon platform can drive all your work from home results. We'll hop into a demo so you can see everything in action. It's not going to be so quick. It's going to be nice and thorough. Then we'll take a look at a review of everything we saw, some customer transformations, and finally, we will finish off with a Q&A. So just a couple of housekeeping notes before we continue. Throughout the presentation, you will be on mute, but don't worry. If you have any questions that pop into your brain at any point in time, feel free to submit them in the question box and I will get to them at the end of the presentation during the Q&A period. So don't feel like I'm ignoring you, just trying to keep the flow of the presentation going. But that being said, if there are any fatal errors, like my screen turns black or you can't hear my audio, feel free to raise your hand. I have my mobile next to me and I will be able to take a look and make sure everything is running smoothly. But otherwise, we'll just save everything till the end of the presentation. So at Replicon, not only do we believe that people's time is a strategic asset, but it is your most important asset. You only have so much time available to you in, well, any given moment of time. Time is finite, and once it's used up, it's gone forever. So you have to treat it like the precious, precious resource that it is. And what causes time to be so difficult to manage? Well, we'll cover that in a second. But first, it's good to understand how much time you have at your disposal. So with 500 employees, and keep this stat for a little bit later because we're going to discuss it a little bit further, you will have 1.04 million hours available to you in 1 year. With 5,000 employees, That jumps up to 10.4 million hours available annually. And with 50,000 employees, you will have 104 million hours available to you in one calendar year. And that is so much time. It's almost unfathomable how much time that is. And it's way too much for any one person or any one department to manage. So how can we streamline this process? Well, one of the things that makes it so difficult to streamline is time is fragmented and tedious. We have a big ecosystem that's all trying to work together. And as you can see with Frankie, our Franken system here, not every piece fits into the puzzle quite so well. We have ERP, CRM, project management, PSA, HCM, and payroll, and they're all trying to use time information for different reasons, but they are handcuffed and they don't fit so well together all the time. And then on top of that, we have our on-premises data and databases and on-premises hardware. And realistically, this isn't doing a lot of people much good right now, especially when we have a work from home or work from remotely. Just trying to get all this time information to the right place can be so difficult. And this can cause so many problems. We have costing and billing delays, future pipeline growth, decreased profitability, low utilization rates, costing and billing errors, inability to plan to any sort of capacity. The list goes on, and you can see this causes so many headaches. And at Replicon, we are really interested to hear from you folks. So I'm actually going to launch a poll here. Just give me 1 second. So we want to know what you use your time data for. So we're looking at all the different ways that our customers have been using Replicon's platform in the past. So we're looking at project job costing, internal client billing, external client billing, time and attendance for payroll, tracking employee productivity. So if everyone could submit their votes, and we will get rolling, because we really do appreciate all of your input, and we use all of this data to better understand how we can make our platform the best for every single one of you. So we use all this data that we collect from our webinars, from our feedback, and we really do use it to shape the experience for everyone involved. And it'll help me drive how we kind of aim at things during this webinar. So we are almost, you guys are so good. Thank you all for voting. And we will end the poll in about 5 seconds. We'll give it another couple seconds for the last votes to roll in here. Thank you so much for being so keen, everyone. And with that, we are going to end the polling, and I will share the results with you. So project job costing was the #1 use, and tracking employee productivity. So we'll cover those today. And we'll also take a look at client billing. And if you're not doing the client billing, maybe why Replicon can help you in other areas too, such as time and attendance for payroll, tracking productivity, the list goes on. So we're going to take a look at all of these metrics shortly. And let me just stop that share. All right. So there are so many people in your organization that need to use time data, but they need it for different reasons. You have finance leaders, operation leaders, delivery leaders, resource manager, billing leader, HR leader, and they all need this time data. What doesn't change is that they need it to be consistent across the board. We know how difficult it can be trying and glean information from Excel spreadsheets or trying to pull it from one program and translate that to another program. You're not going to get accurate results across the board, and you're just going to have conflicting issues amongst all these people. So that is why we have Replicon's time intelligence platform for all of your time tracking needs. So you're going to hear me say this more than a couple of times today, but Replicon is so configurable. Every aspect of the platform can be changed and altered to meet your organization's specifications. And one of the ways that we can change is size. So we are scalable. So whether you are that 10 employee startup or that 100,000 employee established organization, we can grow with you and fit your organization. And another way that we can grow is in location. So we are global and secure. So regardless of where you have employees in this big blue planet, we will have a Replicon instance that is set up personally for them. And that includes things like multiple languages, currencies, time zones. We have different holiday schedules, payrolls, the list goes on. So regardless of where your employees are located, they will have a Replicon platform that is ready for them. And not only are we global, but we are mobile. So even if those employees are on the move, they will be able to track their time, because we know how difficult it is trying to remember exactly what you did throughout the day. And then when you get back to a PC, trying to log everything that you had done down to the exact detail, it's not going to be accurate. So we give you the power to track all of your time in the palm of your hand with our mobile app that was built from the ground up. And one of the other ways that we make everything easy for everyone involved is through artificial intelligence. So we implement artificial intelligence in our app, in our desktop platform. You'll see it in our smart approval processes, in our chatbot. The list goes on. And we want to make Replicon easy for everyone, all the way from administration down to the end user. So we do everything we can to streamline these processes for every single person involved. And finally, we are plug and play. So we are an open source API, which means we can communicate with any program in your ecosystem. Whether you need to send or receive data, Replicon is there to help you out. We have so many out-of-the-box connectors and built-in connections to any of your programs. And even if you have a homebrew system, we can find a way to make Replicon work with it. So rest assured, whatever you have going in your ecosystem, Replicon will find a place in your organization. So Replicon is a comprehensive suite made up of multiple solutions. So we have project-based solutions, which we'll be focusing more so on today, like time and billing, project time and cost, and project resource management. We also have a time and attendance features like time and attendance and compliance, workforce management, and global paid time off. And if any of these really pique your interest or you want to find out more, you can obviously always contact us. And we are running weekly webinars, which shockingly enough, go every week, except for when we have these more in-depth webinars, and they'll cover all of these topics and more. So stay tuned if there's something that really piques your interest, but we can always mix and match, and you can have as many of these solutions or as few that make sense for your organization. So here's a quick review of everything we will be seeing in the webinar today. We'll take a look at how Replicon can help you with your accurate project time tracking. We'll show you how we can make real-time estimates versus actuals. We'll maximize your billable hours and utilization. We'll show you how we can project and resource forecasting. Finally, we'll take a look at how global, scalable, and mobile-first Replicon really is, and take a peek at how our powerful analytics and integrations really reveal what your data is doing for you. And I know you're all very excited to see the platform, but I do have one more poll question that we'll jump into right before we get going. So poll number 2 is, we are interested in knowing, do you track all of your employee hours? So do you just track your time against billables and projects only? Do you track time against both billable and non-billable hours? Do you track all project and non-project time, or just track time for attendance and don't need the details? Again, this information is all so valuable for us because, again, we can build the platform to meet your needs. And it's also really important for us to hear how people are adjusting to work from home. So seeing what needs are really shining through to people and what maybe they have realized that they are lacking in their organization. And that's why they're looking for a more streamlined solution. So just give everyone a couple of seconds here to vote. Starting to have a couple of votes trickle in. Again, I thank you for your promptness. And we'll give you another 10 or so seconds, and we will close this off and then hop into the most exciting part, the platform in action. All right, thank you all so much for voting, and I will share the results with you. So number 1 is we track project time against both billable and non-billable hours, which is important, and I'll discuss that with you right away here. So we're actually going to jump into the platform, and you will see how tracking all of your information is so crucial to really utilizing all of your organization's time. So just let me switch my screen over here, and ta-da. So here is part of the platform. This is one of our BI connectors, but these are our dashboards, and they are the culmination of all the data that you have put into Replicon. And we know there is so much going on. You have billable hours, you have non-billable hours, you have project time, you have non-project time, you have costs, you have expenses, you have vacation, you have time off, you have overtime, and you need to keep track of all this information and understand what it does for your organization. So that's why we have our dashboards. They are updated in real time. So every single piece of information that you input to our system will be revealed in one of these dashboards. And these are so important because not only do we want to track your time, but we want to transform it and help you understand what it is doing for your organization. So like we said, on a base level, we can track all of your hours. So we can show you your work time, your time off, your over allocated hours, and what your estimated hours are. But then we take that a step further and break that down into project time and non-project time. And obviously, you want to be working on project time because that's where you're making your money. That's where you're getting those billables going. And at first glance, this overall productivity of 89% project time looks pretty good. But when we drill down a little bit further, we can see our utilization isn't quite as high as it may have first appeared. So in an organization, we're shooting for about a 70% utilization rate, which means we have 70% of our time being spent on billable hours. But here you can see our non-billable hours are really eating into our billable time, and we're only utilizing 57% of our time towards these billable hours. And in turn, we can see how that affects our projects. So we can drill down into our project analyzer, and we will quickly be able to see that we do have a couple of projects that are starting to get away from us. So our dashboarding, our evaluation of billing systems, and evaluation of financial reporting tools all have so many non-billable hours that are being logged. And It's very difficult to make any money on a project if you're logging so many non-billable hours. So very quickly, we can see that how our time is filtered throughout Replicon into these dashboards and showing us how we are spending our time appropriately or maybe not so appropriately, and where we can fix things up so we don't have these runaway projects where we are leaking profit. But to have any of this information tracked towards projects, well, we need them in the platform itself. And there is a number of ways that we can get projects going within Replicon. And big reveal, here is the platform. So within Replicon, we are open source API. So that means if you have a project planning program, that 3 Ps always gets me, but I did it tonight, like Microsoft Projects or maybe Sage Intacct, you can actually import all of your projects and they will be visualized just like you see here. They will retain all your data. You will be good to go. But if you don't have your own project planning program, that is okay too, because like I said before, Replicon is so configurable and we can do everything we need within the platform itself. So if we need to go ahead and add a new project, we'll be given a host of options right off the bat, like billing type, billing rate, time period, time and expense entry, total contract value. The list goes on. But that is just the tip of the iceberg, because after we have actually created these projects, we'll have a few more options that we can dive down into and really adjust this project to be exactly what we need it to be. Because we know projects are evolving and changing and they are never static, so they might need to be adjusted and changed to fit with the growing and movement of your organization. So once we go ahead and create this project, we'll be able to adjust things like our cost type, our time and expense entry. We can change our estimated hours, cost, and expenses. And every time we change one of these things, it will filter how we track our time towards a specific metric. And to better understand how we are going to be tracking our time towards projects in Replicon, it's good to take a look at their structure within the platform. So at the top of our project tree, we have programs, and programs are the larger initiatives within an organization. They are basically a group of projects, or even if you need it, you can have these lonely one project programs like administration and sales and business development. And they will basically give you an understanding of any like-minded projects. Now from this projects page, there's a couple important things to note. Here we can actually change all of our table settings, and this is common throughout Replicon. So if you want to see your billing information, maybe we have our budget deactivated, we want to take a look at that. We can set our table settings, we can change how everything is sorted, and maybe we're looking through these programs and we say, I want to see what is going on with our largest and most expensive program. Again, I can see this lovely blue font, which means I can probably drill down. Well, it means I can drill down, and I will be given a host of information about this program, including a summary of hours, costs, billing, and resources, as well as every single project that is located in this program. So we give you access to all of your projects, whether they are your projects, projects in progress, projects that are completed or archived. And again, this is permission driven. So if you don't want people to see this information, they won't be able to see it. But for an administrator, for example, we want you to have access to all of your information, well, because it is your information. And it is so important for planning future projects to understand where your successes or failures were in the past. So it's always good to have these projects on hand just so you can drill down a little bit further. And if something is archived, you won't see it updating in those real-time status, like your actuals and estimates. It's going to be kind of sequestered off from everything else. Whereas these My Projects, Projects in Progress completed, those will be kind of your live feed projects where you'll be able to better understand exactly what's going on with your organization. And again, everything is sortable here, so I can change my table settings. I'm actually given quite a bit more for table settings. And again, something piques my interest. I want to find out more about my most expensive project in my most expensive program. I can drill down and I will be given real-time information on hours, cost, and billing, and again, daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And we can actually sort through this billing here to see our actual versus estimator or billing versus cost, but this will be updated in real time. So anytime we log hours or we allocate resources to this project, we will see this updated in real time. And this is so important for understanding how to adjust projects so that they can be profitable. So in this instance, we can see our billing versus our cost. Billing in blue, things are looking nice. We're doing a lot of billing, costs aren't going up too high. This looks to be a profitable project, but we can see on our histogram, things start to look a little bit different as we go into the future, and things started to turn around for the worse. So our costs were skyrocketing, we weren't billing so much. These are probably those instances where we are spending time on non-billable hours. Again, we'll be able to dig down a little bit further and understand this, but this is a good indicator that we need to start turning things around before they get too dire. But we don't want these projects just to be a little checkbox on a timesheet, so we actually break them down even further into tasks. And tasks are the nice digestible chunks of these projects, and they can be further broken down into subtasks and sub-subtasks, so you can make as simple or complex task trees as you see fit. You will also be able to assign estimates to all of these tasks, and these are important for a couple of reasons. One is you want to understand exactly how close to completion you are on a specific task. So say interviewing 46 out of 50 hours, 92%, we are actually almost done that task. Then we can kind of start moving our time into other areas. But on the other hand, oh boy, implementation, we are quite a bit, 4 times almost, or even more than 4 times our allocated estimated hours. And we are very much hemorrhaging time on this project. So this is a good indicator that we need to bring the hammer down and really close out this task so we can move forward with this project. What these estimates also allow us to do is understand where our strengths and weaknesses lies in an organization. So maybe consistently our user training is coming in under budget. We're at 125 of our actual versus estimated hours, but we're done. We don't need any more time. So in the future, we can build down those estimates. So again, we're able to better accurately predict the cost of a project. And things like implementation, that is consistently a thorn in our side and makes us weep just by looking at it. We can start to build up those estimates so we don't have to feel this crunch of being 4 times our estimated hours on a specific task. So now that we understand how projects are structured within Replicon, we are going to need a team working on them. And this is shockingly enough done in the team tab. I know, very shocking, but this team tab is a perfect example of the permission-driven nature of Replicon. So not only can we see everyone assigned to this project, but we can also see the information that they will be given access to. So take Tammy Benson, for example. Tammy Benson is assigned to this project. She won't be able to see any other information on projects in this program unless she has been given access to it. And on top of that, she will only be able to see the project information that we give her access to. So take, for example, our billing rates. Our billing rates can be adjusted on the fly, so we can remove any one of these at any given moment. Even if there's been hours logged towards it, we'll see that logged on the bottom here. We can also add billing rates, and we can adjust these on the fly. Maybe we're increasing or decreasing based on certain circumstances. But when we are ready, we can hop back to our team tab, and we can actually assign these to each and individual user. And these users will only be able to log these billing rates that they have been given access to. So again, we are controlling everything that goes into the time entry flow so that we are not getting extraneous time entries or wrong time entries. We can ensure that every time entry is right, down to the very last second. So things like billing rates, we can also assign tasks. So we really do have full control over not only what they see, but by having these start and end dates when they see it on their timesheet. And to drill down even further, we can actually assign roles within Replicon. And these roles have a certain set of permissions that can be given to any user. And in Stacy's instance, she is actually not an employee of Replicon. She is one of our clients. But Stacy still needs to approve timesheets for our jobs. So we need to give her access to our Replicon. So we can actually give Stacy Olson client representative status. So as you can see, she has a very bare bones Replicon. She only has access to these timesheets that she needs to approve and reject. But anytime there's an action that needs to be taken, she'll be given a push notification or an email based on what platform she's on. And she can log in, do all her approving and rejecting. But again, this speeds up the process and ensures that your data is centralized in one location, because we don't want to be sending emails back and forth or Excel spreadsheets or just tracking things manually. By having everything all located in one central solution, you can ensure that, again, everything is accurate and been able to taken care of in a succinct manner. So now that we understand how permissions work, we'll see how that filters through into our team setting. So just give Replicon a second. It's got to switch back to me. Doesn't want to be Stacy anymore. And let's hop in back into our projects tab. So we were taking a look at our financial data reporting fixes. We had a look at our team, and it's good to understand who's assigned to a team, but we can take that a step further with our allocation. So our allocation will allow us not only to see who is on our team, but to understand how their hours have been distributed for not only this project, but everything else in our organization. So here we will see a couple of different color codes. We have the hours in gray here, which are hours that are allocated to other projects. I have overshot. I'm going to just refresh the page. And we have hours in blue, which are hours that are allocated to this project. We'll also have these green hours, which are hours allocated to vacation or time off. And here we go. We are back in business. And we will also have these little red triangles in the corner. Those are what we don't want to see. Those are hours that have been over allocated, which means overtime, which in turn means we are increasing our cost, which is what we want to avoid. And now, as we can see, as time goes on, we start to get a little bit more scant with our hours, and oh boy, we actually have no one assigned to this project in the coming weeks, which is no good. So I think I am going to kickstart this project. I'm going to go ahead and add a new user. And now this add a user screen will again allow us to understand how every single hour in our organization is being allocated, but this is across the whole company. And trying to find the correct person for a job can be intimidating, especially if you have a huge list of resources to sort through, but fear not, Replicon makes this process easy for everyone. So we have a ton of metrics that we can sort through: department, skill, project, client, program, location. And it is fun for me to stay up late with you guys, but some people do enjoy their sleep. So if our clients in North America, we're going to pick someone with North America availability, and we need someone with a very specific set of skills. No, not Liam Neeson. We need a Sage architect. And it looks like we have found the perfect person for the job. Now, maybe in this instance, there was a couple people with Sage architect skills and North America availability. We can actually rank them on their skill on a scale of 1 to 3. And then when we go ahead and search through this user, it will allow us to understand maybe we need an entry-level person who's going to cost less, or maybe we need our master Sage architect on this job. We will be able to decide accordingly and be able to assign them with ease. So Alex Chu, you're on the team. And once we go ahead and add Alex to the team, assigning his hours is just as simple. So we can go ahead, click on the week we want him working. We can assign a specific number of hours per day, total hours per week, and very useful is a percentage of his available hours. We can also allocate a percentage of his scheduled hours, but available hours is very useful for a couple of reasons. One is we don't want to over allocate our users because that's where we get that overtime and that's where we increase our costs. But the same could be said for under allocating users. That means we are not maximizing our users' potential. They're still getting paid the same, but they are not doing as much work, or they are not moving us forward on our project progress. So under allocating affects us and over allocating affects us. But do you know what's perfect? When you have this ability to allocate 100% of their available hours. So we can go ahead and add this allocation. And Alex actually has a cost assigned to him. So this will be updated in that dashboard, in that live project screen that we saw before. And if this cost is normalized or whatever, depends on the project, you can choose that. This will update all that information in real time. And to really dive down even further into this allocation status, let's take a look at some of the weeks in the past where we maybe haven't allocated our users to their full potential. So in the past here, we can see there's going to be some weeks where we have 27 hours allocated, 36 hours allocated. And let's just imagine for a second, we used Replicon to find 1 extra billable hour per user per week for a year. So if you take away vacation time, depending on where you are, we'll say Canada, US, that's average 2 weeks of vacation. So 50 hours per year. And at an average billing rate of $300 per hour, we have discovered $15,000 of extra billable hours for this one user in 1 calendar year. And if we spread that across our 500 employee organizational user base, that is going to be $7.5 million of extra billable hours per year that we have discovered just by finding that 1 extra billable hour per user. And now imagine instances like this where we're able to discover, we've only assigned 36 hours or 27 hours, how much more efficient we could make our organization. And we can really drill down even further into this efficiency in our resources tab. So our resources tab will break down how we have assigned every user in our organization over a specific given period of time. And here we can break this down even further and take a look at the different projects that we're working on. So again, we can understand how our utilization rates have been affecting our organization and how we can spread this out amongst the people in our organization. And maybe there was an instance where we had a bad week like we saw with a couple of those weeks in financial data reporting fixes. We can drill down and see on October 13th, we had 2 users that were over allocated. So again, this is something that we want to avoid. And Replicon really allows us to understand exactly how we have all of our users allocated at any given moment. But there will be instances when we don't exactly know who we need on a project. Maybe we're in the planning phase and we just want to suss out who and what kind of roles we want on this project. So for that, we have created placeholder resources. And placeholder resources are just like traditional resources. They can be assigned skills, we can assign them hours, and when you're ready to go, you can start slotting in these hours to different projects and it will update in real time. So with that cost that you've assigned to them. And then once you've decided what cost looks good, how many of these placeholder resources you need on a project, then you can start replacing them with either hirees or trainees or the resources you already have. And you don't have to worry about any of your data being skewed because it has been updated in real time and you have full control over everything that you do within the platform. So far we have looked at how we plan projects and how we staff them, and now is the fun part. We get to log our time towards them. And at Replicon, we call ourselves the time intelligence company for a reason. Time is something that we do very, very well. So within Replicon, there exists so many different permutations of timesheets that we could feasibly create a different timesheet for every single user in your organization. So here, what you will see is a little bit more of a project-oriented timesheet. So here we are logging our time towards specific programs, projects, tasks, and if applicable, we'll be able to select through different billing rates and activities. And once we're ready to go, we can start logging our time. And as we log our time, there will be different reverberations just on this page. So up here, we can see we have an estimate associated with this task. And as I log that, my estimate bar will grow. And this is important not only for supervisors to understand, but for end users, because they need to know how far along a specific task should be and when it should be nearing completion. And as we can see here, I am a little bit over the allocated hours, and we'll see what happens when I try to submit this timesheet. It's also important to note that everything here is searchable. So if you're an organization with 100 different job codes, don't worry. Everything in Replicon is aimed towards ease of use and accuracy of tracking. So you can search all of these different job codes, and in tandem with our permissions, you can be sure that your users and resources will only be accessing the information that they need to access. And as we enter our time down here, oh boy, Monday, working hard, Tuesday, I work hard every day. What am I talking about? But as we change here, we can see this is actually a billing rate for billable hours. I'm going to give this page a quick refresh, and we'll actually see my target billable hours will adjust here on the bottom. And so this is important too, because we want to keep our resources on the moving path forward. And by having these target billable hours, our resources can know what is expected from them on a given month. So if we set these goals and they start to see maybe a week in or 2 weeks in that this goal is not looking so achievable, they can bring it up with a supervisor or an administrator, and they can fix their path accordingly, because it is so much better to know in real time what is happening and how your goals are being met than waiting till the end of the month and discussing things after it's already been completed. So by having this real-time access, you can really ensure that everything is being course corrected as it needs to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this timesheet. That was a pretty big week for me, 49 hours. I'll give myself a pat on the back. And when I go ahead and try to submit for approval, the first thing I will notice is I get this attestation warning. And this is an example of validation rules within Replicon. So validation rules are certain parameters that must be met every single time a timesheet is submitted. And these validation rules cover things like minimum hours entered, maximum hours entered, hours during a rolling period, minimum overtime for a day, overtime for a week, mandatory break enforcement, the list goes on. And if these validation rules are not met, there will be different things that happen. So in this instance, I forgot to accept this attestation on the bottom, so I'll get this gentle reminder to go ahead and accept and submit. And once I do, Replicon will work its magic. It's going to try to submit this timesheet for approval, but I'll give you a heads up, it's not going to work because I have created some errors and exceeded some of these validation rules within Replicon. So as we can see, womp womp, timesheet rejected. This means I will not be able to submit this timesheet until things are correct. And this is so important because we want to nip all the timesheet errors in the bud. We know how painful it can be going back and forth with your employees, trying to understand exactly what needs to be fixed on a timesheet. Do I need to change this? Yes. To what? This? No. Yeah. Oh, just gives me a headache just thinking about it. So this is what Replicon is here for, to avoid all these problems. So by having these validation rules in effect, we can ensure that the time being entered is accurate, and we can also fix problems just like we saw before as they happen. So in this instance, I'm trying to enter time towards a task that has exceeded its limit. Now we can set this limit to 100% like it is for this instance, or 150%, 200%, 500%, whatever makes sense for your organization. But once we have reached that threshold, I will not be able to submit my time until I have a chat with a supervisor. And maybe my supervisor didn't realize that, oh boy, we are just going crazy on this task and getting nowhere. So this allows our supervisor to take action and again, get everything moving in the right direction. So that is the goal of Replicon, is to get all of this time information moving correctly through your system and avoid any of these hangups and inefficiencies within an organization. And we can drill down even further into these timesheets in a couple of places. One of those is in our cost tab. And here we will have every single timesheet that has ever been created in the history of our organization. So whether it has not been submitted, it's waiting for approval, approved, rejected, we will be able to find them here and we can access them at any time. So if there is ever an audit or dispute, we can always go back in time and understand exactly what happened as a timesheet, on the given timesheet. And for me as an approver, I will also find this waiting for approval tab very useful. I've been slacking a little bit. I only have 95 timesheets piled up from a couple of months. But if I need to, I can actually go ahead and batch approve or batch reject everything here. But as we can see on the bottom, I do have a couple of these validation rules triggered, so it might be useful for me to dig down a little bit further and understand what happened on these timesheets. So first we'll take a look at Chris DeFonte. Chris DeFonte has a little bit more of a basic timesheet. He's just simply tracking the time that he is spending on his tasks during the day, and for some organizations that's perfect. But what is not perfect with Chris's timesheet is he has logged too many hours. He has logged 50 hours and he's only supposed to be logging 40. So maybe this warrants a conversation. We go back to Chris, ask him, is this correct? No, he can actually go back into his timesheet and adjust the hours himself. I can always go back, reopen, everything will be logged in this approval history on the bottom. But like we said before, we want to put the onus on the end user. So we can actually give Chris permission to reopen his timesheet, drill down, adjust the time. We'll be able to see everything here. And then again, in case of audit or dispute, we can always go back and have a discussion about exactly what happened on this timesheet. Another example we have of a timesheet here is with Kurt Jones. And Kurt Jones has a little bit more of a custom timesheet. So Kurt is entering the time that he is working during specifically hours during the day, so 8 to 8. We can see his activities, tasks, and projects, but Kurt also has a couple of custom fields on his timesheet here. So one of those being comments. And comments right now is so important because we have people working from home. We have people working remotely. We might not have as much contact as we used to have with these employees on any given day. So by having this comment section, they can tell us what their successes are, their struggles, and we can kind of keep up to date with them. Well, that is if they do actually enter these comments. In this instance, we can see that Kurt has not entered his comments. So this has triggered this warning. It hasn't outright rejected the timesheet because maybe we don't find this as an egregious error, so we still allow this timesheet to go through. But we have a conversation with Kurt, tell him, we really need you to submit these comments. It really helps us out. And say, for example, Kurt forgets next week. You know what we can do? We can actually switch this timesheet to change next week, and that this timesheet will be rejected without the comments. So again, we have full control over these timesheets on a week-to-week basis. Another custom field we have here is mileage, and it can say mileage, it could say units completed, it could be photo proof done of the work during the day. Basically, you can make whatever fields you need visible on these timesheets. And not only can you make a different timesheet for every user in your organization, but you can make a different timesheet for each one of those user situations. So maybe Kurt's working from home, Kurt's working from the office some weeks, Kurt's working from home and the office, Kurt's working from the road. We can have a different timesheet for each one of these situations so we can really ensure that Kurt is able to enter his time accurately. And another way we support this accurate entry of time is through our mobile app. So just give me one moment while I switch my screen over here. So like I said before, our mobile app was built from the ground up for ease of use in mind. We are greeted by Chatbot. Chatbot can answer questions. Chatbot can streamline process. Chatbot is looking very cute, but unfortunately, Chatbot, we don't have any time for you today. We gotta drill down into your information a little bit later. So here, I will have access to all my timesheets. So Replicon does actually support time punching. Now, this is a little bit more popular on the mobile app. So I can punch out for a break, I can transfer my work, or I can clock out. And I apologize, you are going to have to see my late night face. Here we go. And I can actually have a photo snapped of me so you can see exactly who is clocking in and out so that this avoids any buddy punching and any issues that pop up. But I can clock in and out just like I could do on the desktop platform. So this is kind of a hybrid timesheet. So I can be punching in and out, or I can be logging into a specific day and log my time towards a program, project, task. Now this is not a typical timesheet. Usually it's one or the other, either punching or this time entry kind of style. But just for demonstration purposes, I had both available just so you can really see that Replicon can be flexible for your time entry needs. And not only is it flexible for our time entry needs, but we are also flexible for the approver needs. So like you saw before, Replicon has a ton of options. We can do those photos with punches in and out. We can also take locations, as you saw, and this is all optional. So if you don't want things like geofencing, geo-tracking these photos, you could take that out of the punch in, punch out system and just have a more traditional system. But again, the options exist. And me as an approver will be able to drill down into these punches and out and understand those a little bit better, but we'll focus more on the traditional timesheets today. So me as an approver, if I have anything waiting in my inbox, I'll get an email or a push notification that says, yeah, you have some stuff that needs taken care of. And I can drill down into any of these timesheets, batch, approve, or reject. But again, if I want to find out a little bit more, I can take a look at Tammy Benson's timesheet. Things are looking nice, Monday to Friday, 8 hours each day. None of these validation warnings have been triggered, so I can go ahead and approve this timesheet. But also, if I want to save time across my organization, I can also set this timesheet to approve automatically. So Replicon does support smart approval processes. So in tandem with our validation rules, if you have these smart approval processes running and everything is business as usual, nothing triggered, this can be submitted automatically. And just think of how much time you can save by not going through 10 timesheets every week, or 100 timesheets every week, or 1,000 timesheets every week. It just allows you to focus on the things that matter, like those billable hours, and instead of working through these menial tasks that are not doing anyone any good. But if you still don't value that smart approval process, maybe you just want to do something a little bit more traditional, you can also set 1-step approval, 3-step approval, 15-step approval. Whatever makes sense for your organization can be configured within Replicon. And so now we have logged our time, we have created our project, and we have staffed it. Now we need to, well, get paid for all the work we've done. And we're going to hop back into the platform to take a look at our billing tab. So our billing tab is where all of your information on billable hours will be stored. So here you'll see the status of all these billable hours, whether they've been not invoiced, drafted, issued, paid. And when you're ready to go, we have a couple of different ways you can invoice from Replicon. So if you have your own program for accounting or whatever, you can sync all this information directly to that program and it will be sent over in a couple of seconds and you can do all that you need to do from that program itself. But if you don't have your own accounting program, that is okay too, because Replicon, like we said before, is very configurable, adaptable, and agile, and we can invoice directly from the platform itself. So all these invoices will be able to be configured so we can change the color scheme, the layout, what we see on each invoice. And from the invoices themselves, we will actually be able to update these in real time. So maybe a specific task went a little bit longer. We can actually add those hours on directly, and this will be visible for everyone involved. We can add line items like discounts or extra tasks that we worked on. And when we are ready to go, we can actually go ahead and email out this invoice, and we can update the status in real time. So those invoices will change from billed to issued, drafted, whatever. So we can update everything in real time, and we have full control over our billing from the Replicon platform itself. But not only is it useful to be able to bill from the platform, but we also need to understand how our time is being spent. And that is done through the time workbench. So there's a couple of different instances where this comes in a lot of use. One is if you're doing chargebacks and just understanding where specific tasks were done within your organization so you can charge the correct department. Or if you're looking for an R&D tax credit, the guidelines that you need to submit are so stringent, and you need to make sure that you're logging every single second of your time, because there's only specific tasks and projects that will be able to be claimed on this R&D tax credit. So here you can sort through all the appropriate metrics and find exactly what hours are claimable and which ones are not. So you have, again, full control over your time. You can send this to basically any program. We have so many out-of-the-box filters already, like JD Edwards, Oracle, PeopleSoft, SAP. And if you don't see your connector here, chances are it's already built into Replicon, or we have done a custom configuration in the past that we can really easily transfer over. So regardless of what you're using in your ecosystem, Replicon can communicate back and forth. And when in doubt, we have old trusty CSV, which is basically compatible with every program under the sun. So you can always be assured that you can get your Replicon information to and from where you need it to be. So we have been putting so much data into Replicon. We need to visualize this. We need to understand what it is doing for our organization and understand what it means for our bottom line. And there is a couple of ways we can do that. One of those is through our dashboards. And like we saw before, dashboards are living and breathing. They can be changed and adjusted to show whatever information you find valuable. And they are perfect for exporting to slideshows, presentations for leadership, or just giving anyone who wants to understand the health of an organization just a quick glance at how they're doing. And if there is something that piques your interest, maybe I want to understand my billables by project a little bit better, and there's something that sticks out to me like our customer billing system, I can drill down even further and see who's been logging the most billables, maybe give them a kudos, a congratulations for all the hard work they've been putting in, or I can talk with Michael Lear or Gabby Mason, who are probably doing just as much work, probably just on a different project, but still maybe it warrants a discussion, and I'm able to identify any outliers within my organization with just a couple of clicks. We will also be able to visualize our information through reports, and I'm sure you all have seen a report or 3 or 3,000 in your history, and that is because they are so important. And we already have built in kind of the most requested reports, but these are by no means the exhaustive list. So we can add, subtract, create, we can do whatever we need to make these reports give us the information that we need. And these can be run on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, sent to anyone with an email address. And if we want, we can also run them on the spot. So the report we're going to look at here is our project profitability analysis. And this is going to break each project down by our total contract value, estimated cost, estimated billing, actual cost and billing, and it will give us our expected profitability and actual profitability. And if things aren't lining up quite so nicely, we will get one of these not so nice alerts on the right side here. And again, just like we saw previously on our dashboards, that this is a good indicator that we need to turn things around before things get a little bit too dire. And then finally, we do have our BI connectors. So Replicon can connect to BI tools like Power BI, Tableau, and Google BigQuery. So regardless of how many programs you have in your organization, you can have all of your data sourced in one convenient area. And all you have to do to visualize your information, like you see here, is download one of our sample workbooks. You log in through the connector, which is basically logging in through your instance. And not only are you able to capture all of your information, but transform it and give it meaning for your organization. So that is going to bring me, unfortunately, to the end of our demo. Just going to take a quick look at everything we saw today, some of the benefits of the platform, and then we'll hop into some customer kind of examples of how Replicon has really changed how they track their time. So as we saw today, Replicon has so many benefits. We can decrease revenue leakages, increase resource utilization, decrease administrative overhead. The list goes on. What Replicon is doing is giving you one source of truth for your time, one accurate pool that everyone can pull from, and rest assured that they are getting the correct information that they need for their job. And we can see this in action with our 300 employee consulting firm. They, gasp, I know, shudder, used manual spreadsheets and homegrown systems, which were not at all flexible. And this made it difficult to manage their cash flow, made variable rates and billing an utter nightmare, delayed their affected profitability, and just it made everything much harder than it needed to be. After implementing Replicon, they had a user-friendly interface that facilitated accurate and consistent data collection, improved resource management, better staffing, and faster and accurate billing. Another example we have is our 800-person computer software company, and they used an on-premises software that they had been using since they started up, but this did not scale so well. And as they grew, it was not able to keep up with their growth. And this made data keeping cumbersome. This limited their insight and made it difficult to forecast for future product investments. And when it came to R&D tax credit time, they were not necessarily audit proof. But after implementing Replicon, they had accurate and effective hours attribution for all their projects. They spent less time tracking and more time working. They had clarity on all their hours, and they had a centralized solution for all their time data. So like we said before, Replicon is the comprehensive suite, and we can cover all of your time and attendance as well as your project-based solution needs. And today we focused in again on time billing, project time and costing, and project resource management, but Replicon can do so much more. And if you see anything that really piques your interest, you can feel free to contact me at any given time. So maybe you're having a coffee later and for some reason Replicon pops into your brain. Drop me a line and I will get you in touch with the right people to answer your questions if I can't answer them. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. We really do appreciate your time, and I hope you are staying happy, healthy, and yeah, hope to hear from you soon, and enjoy the rest of your day and take care, everyone.